This half hour, however, heated rhetoric from North Korea amid escalating tensions. Kim Jong-un, the regime there, slamming the U.S. for flying 2 bombers in an area during a training drill. This morning, North Korea's official news agency saying, quote, the reckless military provocation is pushing the situation on the Korean peninsula closer to the brink of nuclear war. Meantime, President Trump once again refused yesterday to rule out military action when dealing with that North Korean threat.
It's very, very bad. It's very threatening to us and to many other allies. If you look at South Korea, if you look at Japan and others, it's a very horrible thing that's going on. And his statements are very inflammatory. They're horrible. So we'll have to see. I don't like drawing red lines, but I have to act.
Joining us this morning is Fox News military analyst General Jack Keane. General Keane, what options are on the table for the United States? Because President Trump won't rule out military action, but then he also said in another interview that he would be honored, and that's his word, to meet with Kim Jong-un.
Well, I think we got 3 basic options on the table. The first one is diplomatic, and we've given that option largely to China. And they have the most leverage, the most impact, and so certainly we're going to give them the lead here to see what they can accomplish. What's good about that is they've never done this before, 20-plus years, 3 prior presidents. This is the first president that's had that kind of breakthrough with China. So they essentially have the diplomatic ball, and we'll see what they can do. And we hope that they're not gaming us, and this is more rhetoric than action. The second thing is economic. We're going to impose some sanctions on North Korea. We've imposed sanctions on them before. They're kind of pinpricks compared to what actually China can do, but it's also appropriate that we do them. And the third is clearly the military option. And what by that is we're not going to attack North Korea if they shoot off 10 more missiles. We're not going to attack North Korea if they have a nuclear test. We're only going to attack North Korea if they attack South Korea, or if they're in a position with a nuclear ballistic missile that's capable of leaving the peninsula towards our allies, towards our bases, or towards the United States, then we would act. So that's what's on the table.
And to the point of sanctions, the House this week is considering stringent new sanctions against North Korea, targeting the nation's shipping industry. And during his interview with Maria, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin stressed the importance of these sanctions. General, listen to this.
What I would say is we have put sanctions on North Korea. We will continue to look at this. I'm not going to comment about what we will do in the future, but the sanctions programs are very important to our national security.
General, when you talk about the importance of China stepping up, but also watching what they do in terms of helping us deal with this North Korean threat, what should we be watching for? In the case of sanctions, because China in the past has tried to water down sanctions, veto tougher measures, and even kind of circumvent the enforcement of those sanctions. Is that one thing that we should be looking at?
Yeah, we're going to have to keep our eye certainly on what China does. You know, close to 90% of North Korea's economy is totally dependent on China, and that's why I'm saying that they really have the ball here. The sanctions that Congress is going to impose, they certainly are appropriate, but let's face it. North Korea is not on the global marketplace like Iran was, where you can really be pretty tough at what they're doing and truly isolate them. North Korea is already an isolated country.
Right. Iran, for example, uses a valuable global manufactures or produces a valuable global commodity in the form of oil. With China and North Korea, General, China's trade with North Korea, despite sanctions, has increased tenfold over the last 15 years. Also, should we watch how China handles the missile defense system that the U.S. is putting in South Korea, which China has been opposed to? Yeah, well, that missile defense system is essential because it can accurately defend against a ballistic missile. Not all of our air defense systems can. And the way it defends it kills the missile in its terminal phase. So it's in South Korea to protect South Korea only. It would not be able to protect Japan or any missile that's leaving North Korea heading towards the United States. And we needed to do that.
we need to reassure our allies that we're standing behind them. The situation in South Korea is a little shaky politically. The president is being impeached, heading to the jailhouse, new election coming, possibility of a new president coming who's not as strong on defense as previous presidents have been and is willing to make accommodations with North Korea. That's why we're flying bombers over there. We're trying to reassure the South Koreans and the Japanese, look, we got a new president here, and he's got your back. We're going to be there for you.
And that's what this is also what you're referring to. The Air Force, the U.S. Air Force, is ready to conduct another long-range missile test in the Pacific tomorrow, similar to the drill, the one last week. The drill comes just days after that missile test. That's really what you're talking about. It's not just it's us walking our talk, so to speak.
Yes, well, that missile firing, test firing, that's been planned for months. It's really not related, you know, to this crisis that we're dealing with. But certainly it is showing off and reminding people the United States is the #1 military power in the world. We have enormous tools in our toolkit, and certainly that demonstrates one of our incredible great capacities that we do have.
What did you make, General, before we go, of President Trump, any willingness to meet with Kim Jong-un? Is that psychological maneuvering, if you will? Is that important to have that on the table?
You know, I think the president's just natural instincts is a willingness to negotiate and talk to any leader of any country, regardless of that country's behavior. I think that's where he lives. Frankly, he also qualified it, and I think it's an important qualification. It had to be the right circumstances. He actually said it twice. I doubt he's ever going to meet with him. I doubt we're ever going to find those kind of circumstances. I think he's sitting with a CIA profile that he's seen on this individual that would likely tell him the meeting wouldn't be productive anyway. As impulsive as he is, the temper tantrums he has, as unsteady as he is. And
I would suggest that President Trump expects meetings to be productive, because if not, they're a waste of his time. General, it's so good to see you as always. Thank you so much for being here, General Jack Keane. Take care.
Good seeing you.